Hello, my name is Rebecca and I'm here with my colleague
Nicole Camacho.
Today we'll sit down with Adelita Grijalva, a proud Tucsonan, 20-year member of the Tucson Unified School District Governing Board and former Pima County Supervisor. As the daughter of the late Congressman Raul Grijalva and the granddaughter of a Mexican bracero, her story is deeply rooted in public service and community empowerment.
Adelita shares what sparked her passion for leadership, how she found her voice as the youngest woman ever elected to the UAZ board, and why she continues to advocate for equality in education but also representation in politics. We'll dive into moments of tough decision making, what she's learned throughout her decades of service, and her advice for students and young people who feel disconnected from politics.
If you ever wondered how to get involved, where to begin, or whether your voice truly matters, this episode is for you. Dear Adelita, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are excited here at the University of Arizona. My co-host Nicole here. Hi. We invited you and you honored our invitation. This is really exciting.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. So we want to know what you're doing. What you're running for and what inspired you to run for that.
So I'm Adelita Grijalva. I am running for Arizona Congressional District 7.
Yeah.
The district includes Nogales, Douglas, Yuma. I mean, it's very large and diverse. For about 40% of the district, I've represented in an office, either on the Pima County Board of Supervisors or the Tucson Unified School District Governing Board. I was on the school board for 20 years and the Board of Supervisors for 4 years and 4 months. I am running in what inspired me to run in general for office is my dad. My dad was on the school board, TUSD, also on the Board of Supervisors, and when I graduated from Pueblo High School, he did this little doodle for me that said, Adelita for TUSD, and I'm like, that's a lot of pressure. I don't want to do any of that. So I graduated from here, from the U of A, in a degree in political science and sociology, and started working for a program called Teen Court. It's a program that helps young people who have had a misstep, they got arrested for shoplifting or fighting or possession of something, and you work with them, the young person and their families, on how to make, information, workshops, make better decisions, and stay out of the juvenile justice system. Because what we know is that if there is a young person who is suspended from school, one day they are 50% less likely to graduate from high school, because it ends up happening more and more. So my job was to start a school-based program. And that's when I started looking at what schools were doing to help young people when they were struggling. And I was really disappointed, especially in my own district, like the district that I grew up in. So I ran when I was 29. And at that time, they said, we don't need the girl on the board at this time. I was not married. I didn't have kids. And they were like, well, this is just a stepping stone for her to have a bigger office. And I was there 20 years and had 3 kids and 3 kids in public school. And so that really was the catalyst for me to get involved and just look at how, if I'm complaining about something, if it's something that's bothering me, how can I be a part of the solution? I didn't want to just be someone who complained and that's all I did. Yeah. So that's why I ran. And it's always and so for this position, very similar. My dad was the most progressive member of Congress ever, an incredible example to me and to so many of us who felt left out of like the established system, like the Democratic Party or whatever. Those candidates didn't look like us, right? They weren't from our communities. And so my dad felt very strongly that part of his responsibility is to encourage younger people of color to get involved in our system, which is why if you look at the state of Arizona, Tucson is this bright blue spot in the middle where we're very progressive. And I feel my dad had a huge role to play in that because many of us that are in elected offices were supported by somebody who his whole premise is like represent your community. So, yeah.
And also you've mentioned that you were a student here at the University of Arizona. So as a student, did you join clubs? Did you participate in leadership roles? That what
give you the drive?
I wasn't drawn to like student clubs.
Yeah.
And I would go, like I went to Mecha. Everyone's like, well, you should be in Mecha. Okay, fine. And it's, it's for Latino students. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go. And then I went, they're like, well, we're going to protest something. And I was like, okay, so what's the point of the protest? And I just didn't feel like they were reestablishing themselves, and it just didn't seem like something that I could do. But also, I was paying my way through school. So, I had to work. And so right after my classes, I would set up my classes to work. And so I unfortunately didn't spend as much time on campus as I think I would. Now I encourage my daughter to do. She's going to be an incoming freshman here at the U of A. And I'm like, hang out, do stuff, join clubs, be a part of things, be a part of the campus, because otherwise you feel like an outsider. And so my time here, I did feel like that. Like sort of, but I did that to myself. It's not like anyone excluded me. I just didn't feel included. And I think that one of the things that was really special about the U of A is programs like New Start, programs that would really encourage young people to identify, like honor where you come from, but also let us help you transition some of these things that are really hard. Neither of my parents graduated from the U of A or college until after I was already born. So I didn't have a lot of that experience, that lived experience, and I think that that's really important. And many of us are first generation college students, first generation to graduate, and so those support services are very important. And one of the things that I'm really disappointed at the U of A is like backsliding on some of those student services and those organizations that really helped many of my friends and myself get through some of those hard times. So it's, putting those all together, I think, is a mistake. And it took decades of generations to fight for those things. And it was, gone in an instant. So I think we have to do more to bring those back.
Well, we are glad that even if you didn't join any of the clubs, but you're still creating that impact in the community, and you're also encouraging the young students to participate in those clubs, which are very important. So what really motivates you to serve in the Tucson community, besides your dad pushing you and showing you that you have that drive and passion in you? So what really motivates you besides that?
One of the things that was the most special and the greatest privilege that I'll ever have is you're on a school board and you get to be on stage when students graduate, and you get to be a part, like you had a little role to play, whether it was, approving the curriculum, approving the budget, hiring the teachers, you get to shake hands, and like the excitement of what's to come. It's just it's such a privilege to be able to do that. So I've been able to do that with thousands of students, shake thousands of hands, but also go to the preschool promotions when they're going to kindergarten, and like just being a part of that. And like new parents who are like, oh my gosh, our kids are going to kindergarten. Those are exciting times. And every milestone is such a privilege to be a part of. And so to be able to be at the dais and fight to keep Mexican American studies existing, African American studies, like talking about indigenous tribes and making sure that curriculum is reflected of the experiences of the community here. That's such a gift. But I think that it's also important and a responsibility that you make sure that when you're in those spaces, that you own the space, because you have just as much of a right and a voice, more so than some of the other people there. And I think that lived experience is something that's really important to take wherever you go. And so for me, it was really about who are you fighting for? Not just to fight, but like who are you fighting for? And I've had the privilege of representing a lot of this community in different elected offices, but I've also lived here my whole life. So 53 years I've been here, trying to make a difference and trying to encourage other people to do the same thing. My nana, she was from Nogales, Arizona, so she could vote and, never learned how to speak English, but she could vote. My tata was a bracero, who is a very hardworking Mexican immigrant who came to this country with the promise of a job and opportunities, and they married. And one of the things that my nana would say all the time is, no te olvides que naciste con un nopal en la frente, which means don't ever forget that you were born with a nopal, like a cactus right here. Like you have to remember where you're from. And just recently I was able to go to an immigration, like a citizen like ceremony where people become citizens, and there were 20 people from 18 countries, and all of them talked about like what they're how hard they fought to be part of America and the tapestry of America, but that also you can't forget where you come from, because that's part of America, and it's the beauty of it. And one of the things that I'm fighting for to go to Congress is to fight against this idea that differences make us weaker. They make us stronger as a people, and they make us stronger because that's our country is built on immigrants. Like we are part of the fabric here. And so when you see in this community ICE raids of people that we've known our whole lives, that we went to school with their kids, and because they didn't have the proper ID, they're getting threatened to be deported. We have veterans that fought for this country that are being deported. Like that's just inhumane. And it's really disgusting. And it's this shift that has to shift back. And I want to be a part of pushing it back.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah,
you talked about how you were on the school board and you were shaking kids' hands, and that's one thing I love about you is that you're always with the younger generation. It's super important since that's our future. What advice would you give younger generations who want to run for politics in the future?
I think it's really important to get involved in your community in whatever way makes sense for you. Because one of the things that I think is important is that you understand how to work collaboratively when you're part of like a neighborhood association, like a PTO, like your alumni group after you graduate from high school. It's like there's ways that people can get involved, and I think it's important to learn that because it is something that has driven everything that I've done. I think that, I might not know, I don't know everything. And I'm never going to act like I'm the smartest person in the room. But if there is an issue that I don't know something about, I do my homework. You have to. You can't just walk in and say, well, I know some things. No. Especially as a woman of color, as a Latina, I have to know more than everybody else there because I'm going to get dismissed automatically. And that's what they do. And so I think that when you are a young person, you have to go into spaces and you have to force your voice to be heard. Because I've learned that from like being in spaces where people say, well, we need more young people. I said, well, how willing are you to listen? Because in my staff, they're like the county staff, I had the most diverse staff, period, but the youngest staff. Because I think it's important that I surround myself with people that might not agree with everything that I say. I don't need a lot of people to say, yes, whatever you say. I want people to challenge me because it only makes me better as an elected official. But it's not, I rarely say I. It's always a we, because you don't do anything by yourself.
Yes.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like you're in a committee, you're in Congress, you have to work with everybody. You have to get people to co-sponsor bills. Otherwise, they don't go anywhere. And so I'm very proud that like the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which is a caucus that my dad started, by the way, wouldn't exist otherwise, they have endorsed me. And the Hispanic, the congressional members of the Hispanic caucus have also endorsed me. But I also have like endorsements from the Sierra Club and teachers. And that's not because of my last name. It's because I've been in this community for a very long time, and when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. When I say I'm going to show up, I'm going to show up, and we might not always agree, but I promise I'm never going to play gotcha. Like, so I think that that's really important, is that you have to be able to talk the talk. And I am very proud of the record that we've established in every office, and I encourage people to look at it. Like, go ahead, check it out, because there were some really tough decisions there that were really hard to do, and I almost just always had to think about like who's going to benefit from this.
Yeah. So I think when I'm hearing from what you're saying, okay, you've been part of this community and you've worked for over 20 years and fighting for educational rights and other things as well. And this is something that the young people should learn, because most of the young people, like, they have to be kind of like committed to do something, and you have to show up like you said. You have to do what you said you're going to do. Most people give in like empty promises, and at the end of it all, they don't realize those promises. So it's something that the young people has to ensure that they do whatever they say they'll do. Like, you have to be there. If you say I'm gonna be there this time, and you have to like to put your promises into practice, which is really very important. So can you share with us a time in your career where you had to make a bold, difficult decision and you navigated it. How did you navigate that decision?
Yeah, so we were fighting for Mexican American Studies, and it was a room full of people that have really inspired me, professors and family and students, and I was getting a lot of pressure to vote with everybody else. I was like, no, because I know that this is wrong. So I was the one vote to save Mexican American Studies in Tucson Unified, and 4 other people voted against me. But what I remember is the day that the court said that decision was wrong. That was illegal. Mm-hmm. And then they had to reverse the decision and reinstate Mexican American Studies. And I got to be, like, I was on the right side of history there. It's not always easy to do that. But in that case, it wasn't that hard. But, you know, part of the other is closing schools. Closing schools was painful and difficult, and that was very hard. But, you know, we are 49th in the state, in all of the nation, in funding for Arizona. And we are the capital of charter schools. And we passed SB 1070, which was the English-only anti-immigrant law. And so in one summer, we lost like 17,000 students. So you think about, if the U of A lost 17,000 students like that, how many of these buildings would continue to be full and be able to stay open? Do they start to close classrooms? Do they start to look at like consolidation? And unfortunately, those are the decisions that a lot of nonprofits, a lot of medical clinics, they're going to have to make right now because of these cuts that Trump did with that bill. And so right now, you have communities like Ajo, Nogales, Douglas in our district that have medical centers, that have behavioral health services, that have other help and support. They're going to have to start shutting those down because they're going to run out of money, and they're going to move. So people are going to have to drive 3 and 4 hours to get medical care when they didn't have to do that before. So what happens then is, if you have families like the ones we have right now that are making decisions as to whether they're going to take their kid to medical like services, or are they going to have food on the table? And those are not decisions we should be making in the richest country in the world.
Yeah.
We just shouldn't be.
And so
doing
what is the Tucson community doing about that as a state, like as an Arizona state? What are the officials doing about that?
I think that, unfortunately, all of this, the state, like our governor, like the cities, the counties, school districts are like, we can't absorb the federal cuts. Those cuts are devastating. And so like a district like Tucson Unified is going to lose $17 million like that. And what those services are like Medicaid services. People think Medicaid is like for some older people or, you know, some other things. Medicaid services provide the vast majority of the funding for students who have occupational therapy, speech therapy, those services at schools. So if they don't get them at school, where are they going to get them in our community? A lot of people don't have private insurance. So that's why I'm pushing for a single payer. Everyone should just be on the same insurance. I think that that's the best thing to do. Yeah. We need to move forward in that direction.
One thing I like about doing podcasts is researching on the person we're going to interview. And I saw on your Instagram that your daughter is also very big on community, and she's always looking for change. Do you inspire her to do that, or does she do that by herself?
She inspires me. No, she did that. Yeah. The Youth for Adelita, she did that. Her and her friend did that because they were like, let us have your Instagram. And my campaign staff was like, ugh. And they're like, and I said, do your own. And so she did. And I think that, you know, she's also had the opportunity through a lot of, because she's a mariachi, she's in dance, she's very much involved in a lot of different things. And so she gets to see a lot of aspects of life that maybe isn't her reality, but understanding. And then when she was younger, I would take her to, like, we're going to do clothing drives, and we're going to do a lot of different things, like feeding people on the streets and helping at our church. And she learned, like, there are a lot of people that have don't have the same opportunities that she does. And so how do we help when, like, you're a young person? How do you help? And so those are things that she's done, and with her friends. And she's very opinionated. And that I love. Like, I'm glad I raised 3 kids that are all very opinionated. When I'm on the receiving end of some of those opinions, I'm not as excited. But I'm very proud. And they're all very different. And I think that it's really cool because when I was growing up, my parents really treated me like an equal. And in some respects, right? Like, don't get too sassy, that kind of stuff. But really, like, let's talk about the issues. And I think that that's really important because a lot of families, we don't get to do that as often. When, not all of us get to sit down at the dinner table and talk. And so I think that when you have the opportunities to talk to other people and challenge people, we should. And do it respectfully, because really either you come out of these conversations going, I didn't appreciate that perspective and now I do, which I think is really valuable, or I've heard all of the perspectives, I'm still very strong, and then this is my opinion. But now I've heard the other options. And I think that that makes you a critical thinker. And that's what's really important. I think what's missing in a lot of dialogue right now, it's very difficult, in my opinion, to put your message into a 30 or 60 second time slot. That's really, really hard for me. And unfortunately, a lot of people are getting information like that, and a lot of it's misinformation. And that's happened a lot in this campaign, which I've been really disappointed about, because you would think that I was running against Republicans like right now. Just the stuff that's coming back that I'm like, but it didn't happen that way. And so I just want, I will always, my big thing is, I've been on the receiving end of being dismissed because of my age or because of my color or whatever. So I try very hard not to do that, especially with people that were supposed to be better aligned. And so I won't ever do that. But I think that we have to raise the discourse to, like, let's talk about our differences in our policies, not about personality, not about, insulting my dad after he died. I mean, that kind of stuff is below the belt, like way below, and it's not something that we should have in a civil kind of conversation. In a Democratic primary, we can do better than that, I think.
Yeah, how do you think young people like your daughter who are just starting off, how can they contribute to the community? Do you have any ideas or advice for those people who are just beginning?
I think being vocal and talking about your opinions. I think also remembering to do your homework and where you get your information. Because what's happening right now in this administration and this time in our lives, like, Trump says a lie, and because it comes out of his mouth, people think it's the truth. Like, videos are edited to make it look a certain way, and people, because you see it, you believe it. And so I think that it's just really important to be a critical thinker. Think about, like, I wonder why this was put together this way. And, like, watch the congressional hearings yourself. Go to the city council hearings. Like, when they're talking about things that are going to impact you, go and protest. Speak a call to the audience. There are a handful of people that come on a regular basis, and I know them by name because they're so involved. And I think that if you feel strongly about an issue, you need to make sure that your voice is heard, because your voice is different than the other people. I mean, it's the way it impacts you is different. And so making that personal is important, because, again, if you're not the one standing up, then who is? That's I was thinking about running for office, my 14-year-old said, well, if you're not going to run, then who is? And I was like, okay.
Because everyone is unique, I can say that. Like, we are all unique in different perspective.
Yep. And what we contribute is different, and how we do that is different. Yeah. And be humble. Be humble. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Online, it gets a little bit ugly sometimes, where people can just say little jabby things, and it goes viral. And, I think that you have to remember that on the other end of that is a human being and a person that, even though they act like things don't bother them, I act like it doesn't bother me. I have a pretty thick skin, and every now and again I'm like, that one stung a little bit, So I think it's just important to be kind and thoughtful. I think we need more people to do that more often, for sure.
So we are coming to the end of our conversation tonight, and I have one more question.
Sure.
So what message would you like to leave with the University of Arizona students? You were once a student here, and also, like, what message do you have about the importance of voting and being active, and what should they participate into the voting process?
I think that registering to vote is really important. Many U of A students are still registered at their homes, and I totally understand that, but you have to vote. You have to get involved. The sad part is our younger voters, I mean, the percentage is like 5% of registered younger voters vote, and the registered voters is also low. So what happens is that you have more and more people that are older. They are constant voters. I am a they called me like a super voter. I have voted in every election since I was since I registered, but I'm very rare. Like usually it's like, oh well, I'm too busy or I'm this or that. And I think that if you want to be the change that is out in the community, if you want representation that cares about your opinions, then you have to vote them in, because you're the ones that are going to hold them accountable and get people involved. I think having more conversations that are just chats about, so what are we going to do as a community about mental health when these cuts come down? I mean, your voices need to be part of the solution if it's going to be something that's going to work for this community. So I would just recommend getting involved, talking to people, going and interning at like a government office, the Department of Health, whatever you're interested in, the county attorney's office. Those internships are really invaluable to your resume in general, because it gives you an in where other people might not have it, even if you guys are the same and everything else. So when you're looking at, do you have the same GPA? Do you have the same background? All these other things, those internships and volunteers stand out. Those opportunities that you've taken that maybe other people haven't. And just, be part and out and contributing to our community. It makes a big difference. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. It was so nice talking to you. I think it's very refreshing seeing someone that looks like me and a lot of students here at the university running for Congress and also in a male-dominated field. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. You know that only 2% of women in Congress are Latina and less are Mexican American, and only 7% have children in schools. So the numbers are very small. So I think we need more and more. So I'm excited that you took the initiative to come and talk to all of us, and I hope you'll see that you deserve to be in those spaces too. Yeah.
Thank you. We
Thank you
appreciate
so
your
much.
time.
Thank you.
Yeah.